No protections for Christian businesses who contract with the government, and no protections for civil servants that justly believe marriage is just between a man and a woman. The bill's implications: submit to our ideology or be silenced.
I feel some fundamentalist hate in this Chili's tonight. This is Missouri Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler railing against the Respect for Marriage Act, saying the government's not protecting bigoted organizations and politicians enough from freely being able to deny rights and service to people based on their gender. And the woke left is forcing everyone to honor LGBTQ plus life choices, whether they like it or not.
This is yet another step toward the Democrats' goal of dismantling the traditional family, silencing voices of faith, and permanently undoing our country's God-woven foundation. This is the Democrats' priority.
But respect and equal protection under the law are American principles. So the Respect for Marriage Act should be nothing outrageous. It could help make America great, finally. But for Christian fundamentalists, like Congresswoman Hartzler, respect and equal protection under the law will not be seen as birthrights. You heard her talk about traditional family, our country's God-woven foundation. This Taliban language coming from a woman is saying God determines our roles, and your role, not your humanity, determines your rights, especially regarding marriage. So right-wingers aren't just sabotaging LGBTQ human rights. They're trying to restrict women's agency, and in sick, ironic fashion, they're manipulating women to help. Congresswoman Hartzler, who literally bawled over recognizing equal rights to marriage,
The courage to join me in opposing this misguided and this dangerous bill.
also voted with 24 other GOP congresswomen against the renewal of the Violence Against Women Act, because making sure trans women aren't protected from assault or murder is more important than protecting women in general. Here's what it would have covered.
The current bill would expand victim services and reauthorize grant programs for the criminal justice response to domestic and sexual violence. It also includes provisions that would expand housing options for survivors and end immunity for non-native perpetrators of sexual violence on tribal lands. It would also close the so-called boyfriend loophole to prevent dating partners and stalkers convicted of domestic violence or abuse from purchasing and owning firearms. And I'm going to guess that that's actually probably one of the main things that's causing so many Republicans to say this is needlessly partisan.
And it doesn't stop there. A West Virginia prosecutor recently asked the state Senate to consider removing language from its sexual consent law that protects one spouse who sexually abuses the other. And what do you know? Senators with an R next to their names said marriage implies sexual activity.
You want to eliminate the distinction by saying that even if I don't hold her down, if I just happen to walk up while she's doing the dishes and put my hand in a bad spot, that could be a crime. You want that to be the case inside of marriage. You want to make it a crime to do inside of a marriage what would be a crime to do outside of a marriage, even though married partners assume, because of it's part of the implied contract of marriage, that those kinds of things are going to be okay.
The prosecutor reminded them that 26 states still retain marital immunity in one form or another. So women lose their personal agency when they marry in over half of our states. The 3 women in West Virginia's Senate were in that room, hearing women's rights belittled and denied, and they said nothing. How is this preserving and sanctifying marriage? GOP women, when they have political power, are not standing up for women's rights, especially in state legislatures, where abortion was left to be judged. There are half as many Republican as Democratic women in state legislatures right now, which means states where rape and incest are not exceptions for abortion, red states, are dominated by men making this decision for women and girls.
The dynamic in these relationships quite often is that the child has a very romanticized view of what's happening. They think this is their boyfriend.
The female legislators are likely older Christian right women who are convinced that pregnancy happens for a reason, that childcare is women's God-given role, and these women are too old to be affected by abortion legislation, so they won't fight back. And the system is set up so younger right-wing women don't have time or energy to run for office to earn a part-time job that likely doesn't have paid family leave and pays less than $30K a year. And I don't need to mention all the god-awful political candidates we just saw in the midterms who hurt and disrespect women and were voted for by women. Religious right-wing women aren't debunking the myth that they have limited value. The misogynistic men they are married to, that they work with, or that represent them in government are keeping them from protecting their own interests. And when these women think they are preventing themselves and the country from everyone turning gay by denying equal rights to marriage for all, they're actually suggesting that the pre-civil rights era had it right, and white cis men are the only ones who seem to understand their place. Be sure to check out my other videos on this channel, many of which highlight the disintegration of women's and LGBTQ rights. Keep the hope, and I'll see you in the next video.